jobs, demand healthcare, demand transportation, democracy will live on because of this generation. Are you ready to take it to the courts and to the streets?
We are, right, when we're seeing just the depth of the attacks that are happening, trying to roll back all those gains that were won through past struggle, that you were talking about. And they're not going to win. They're not going to do it. This crowd out here is showing why they're not going to do it.
It's our money. It's supposed to go to us. And so when we go on a general strike, we're basically saying we want our money to go back to us. We want our power to go back to us, not to these fascists.
We don't take an oath to a king or a queen or to a tyrant or a dictator. And we don't take an oath to a wannabe dictator. We don't take an oath to an individual. We take an oath to the Constitution, and we take an oath to the idea that is America, and we're willing to die to protect it. Every soldier, sailor, airman, Marine, Guardian, and Coast Guardsman, each of us commits our very life to protect and defend that document, regardless of personal price.
Really, for me, it's just because people are so confused about what's going on. Not only us survivors are still confused, but like the transparency, like what is really going on. Everyone makes it about Trump and Epstein, but it's about this whole ring of men. The only person in jail is Ghislaine, a woman. So where are all the other men that were benefiting and profiting from all of this? That's what makes me upset, because us survivors, we know that they were there. We saw them. We know that we're royalty, princes, very powerful people in academia and tech, and we saw them at parties. They knew what was going on. Why aren't they exposed? And people say, well, why are you speaking out now? Well, we're pissed off now because nothing has happened. And yeah, it's just a frustrating thing for me. So I'm at the point where it's like I'm at my wit's end standing on Capitol Hill. It was more just like, look, I'm not going to sit up here and just tell my sob story like everybody else is. We need to do something about it. You think you have the power? I mean, you don't think that we have the power too? You don't think that we understand what's going on here? So it was really just to say, you need to do something, because we also have the power to do something.
I never said this journey would be easy, and I won't promise that now. Yes, our path is harder, but it leads to a better place. Yes, our road is longer, but we travel it together. We don't turn back. We leave no one behind. We pull each other up. We draw strength from our victories, and we learn from our mistakes. But we keep our eyes fixed on that distant horizon, knowing that Providence is with us, and that we are surely blessed to be citizens of the greatest nation on earth.
do you think they're going to these communities? Not because they've got some targeted list of gang members, thousands of people long. It's because they know they're going to run into likely undocumented people like Maricela, the woman who, 53 years old, wearing a little pink backpack and was going to buy meat to make a stew, and has lived in the U.S. for 30 years and has kids and a family. And now she's in a detention center. I'm just literally texting with her daughter about, she doesn't even know, I don't think, what detention center she's in now. That's the type of federal help that the government is offering cities.
So here's the problem. I think increasingly with each passing day and with each post on social media, the president's losing major ground on this, because people can hold two thoughts at the same time. What Rainn Wilson said about how we need a border, need to be able to control it, need to know who's in the country. All that stuff is true, and none of this looks like what that is. The bigger danger here. Would
say as well, by the way, when we made our film about family separation, nobody's saying we shouldn't have a border.
Yes.
Nobody's saying we shouldn't have immigration laws. We're saying we shouldn't indiscriminately round up people on the streets and not have any idea who they actually are before we do it.
We have some major news right now. The ceasefire in Gaza is all but over, as both sides have accused each other of violating the ceasefire over the past 72 hours. And this morning, the Israeli military says that it has launched a, quote, wave of attacks in southern Gaza. In addition, according to Israeli news, the Israeli government has agreed to halt all humanitarian assistance into the Gaza Strip until further notice. That in and of itself is a violation of the ceasefire agreement that was executed in Egypt. Israel says today's attacks were in response to Hamas firing on Israeli troops. Hamas says that it was completely unaware of any clashes in Gaza and that it's committed to upholding the ceasefire agreement. The United States State Department has said that Hamas is planning a, quote, imminent attack against Palestinians in Gaza. Hamas says that that's not true. The Rafah border crossing between Gaza and Egypt will now remain closed until, quote, further notice. A lot of folks have been mad at me for not crowning Donald Trump with the Nobel Peace Prize after brokering this ceasefire agreement. Just 9 days later, though, the ceasefire agreement is essentially over. As always, I'll provide you more updates as we get more information. Spread the word, follow along for all the news you need to know about.
So some important breaking news coming out of Los Angeles and California, and that is a federal judge has put a brake on some of the worst abuses of the Trump administration concerning the use of the military in law enforcement actions. So it has been a bedrock principle of the United States in our Constitution as a matter of our law since our founding that you cannot use the military as a domestic police force. That is not what they're for. But that is exactly what Donald Trump has done. Tragically, he has deployed the military to Los Angeles. He sent Marines to Los Angeles. He activated the California Guard over the objection of the governor to participate in immigration enforcement actions. Well, a court has now found that unlawful, illegal, and unacceptable. It's a 52-page opinion, but one phrase really stands out. He says the judge says the president is trying to establish a national police force with himself as the chief. Now, this is significant, and it's not just his deployment of the military. It's also the fact that in that big, ugly bill, they gave ICE billions and billions of dollars, essentially creating a domestic law enforcement agency at ICE with a budget that is greater than the nation of Turkey's defense budget or the Netherlands' defense budget or Spain's defense budget. This is all going to the ICE agency. So this action by the court, extremely important. It has never been the case in the United States of America that you can use the military as a domestic policing agency. That violates our Constitution, that violates our democracy. The president is now threatening to do that in Chicago, in Baltimore, or anywhere he says he wants. And we have to put a stop to that. We have to fight this, and this court order is an incredibly important step in the right direction of protecting our democracy.
Bill Kristol here, editor-at-large of the Bulwark. Very pleased to be joined by General Mark Hertling, a frequent contributor to the Bulwark and also to our podcast, and really a wonderful voice of experience and good judgment on not just on military things, foreign policy and life in general, but especially, of course, military things, given your experience. So thanks, Mark, for joining me this afternoon.
It's a pleasure, Bill. Thanks. Interesting times we find ourselves in.
So I thought of you. I wanted to do this because I read just like yesterday about the early retirement, apparently, of Admiral Albert Halsey, the 4-star flag officer in charge of Southern Command, and very unusual, I think. Well, you'll tell me, but announcing that his resignation less than a year into what's normally a 3-year posting, I believe, and certainly a position that's the very height of the military ladder, being a combatant commander. So say a little bit about what the position is and how struck you are by that news.
Yeah, well, I don't know Admiral Halsey. I've heard many good things about him from people that do know him. And obviously he's been promoted to 4 stars or been assigned as a 4-star slot. But he's one of the serving combatant commanders. And those are commanders, 4 stars, who are responsible for certain parts of the globe. There's European Command, there's Indo-Pacific Command, there's Central Command, which has the Middle East. And Admiral Halsey is responsible for Southern Command, which is all of Latin and South America. Pretty big area of operation. It's one of the smaller and some might say more neglected combatant commands because there's not a whole lot of forces down there until recently. And we've seen, a lot of naval forces move into the area, indicators by the administration that they're putting more emphasis on Latin America and the South, especially Venezuela and some of the areas where drugs are produced and transferred from. This particular command, Bill, is more of what has been known in the past as a theater security cooperation command. And what I mean by that is they work hand in glove with ambassadors to engage with other countries, to try and form stronger alliances and partnerships with the countries. So this is really an example of a terrific civil military command. Both military forces that are there in the various countries, relatively small amount, but a lot more dependence on the ambassadors and the embassy teams in those countries. And this is his first 4-star position. And I think I should clarify something in terms of both 3 and 4-star generals. Not a whole lot of Americans know this, but they are not just promoted. They are promoted for a specific position. So he was promoted to 4 stars. That is the position for the Southcom combatant commander. And if that doesn't make any sense, I can understand it. But, it's not as if he says, hey, I want to leave this command and there's no other 4-star position for him. So he doesn't go anywhere else. He either leaves or stays on board.
And just to be clear, this I think also people don't quite understand. If I'm not mistaken, the combatant commanders are in the chain of authority, the line of authority of command, right below from the president to the SecDef to the combatant commanders, right? That's a Goldwater-Nichols thing, I think. It's not the chief of staff of the Army or whatever. He does other things with Title 10. We don't have to get, but I just talk to people.
We love America.
We love Chicago. We love Chicago. Donald Trump, stay the hell out of our city.
Let's give another round of applause to Governor J.B. Pritzker.
We have some bombshell reporting from the Washington Post. Marco Rubio promised to betray Justice Department informants to execute a deal with El Salvador to get access to El Salvador's mega prisons. There's a clear quid pro quo between what happened in El Salvador and the United States government. And according to the Washington Post, El Salvador's leader, Bukele, demanded that the United States hand over 9 MS-13 gang members. The only problem, some of these people were actually informants for the United States Department of Justice. To deport them, Attorney General Bondi had to terminate their informant agreements with the Justice Department, and Rubio confirmed or assured Bukele that that would happen. And at least 3 of these informants provided information to the United States about individuals within Bukele's government. Why do you think Bukele would want them? This completely undercuts the Justice Department's credibility when working with possible informants, and experts say that this could set back the Justice Department's prosecution of MS-13 members for a long time. Bombshell quid pro quo. Read the full article on the Post website. Spread the word. Follow along for more.
There's a great and a bloody fight around this whole world tonight. In the battle, the bombs and shrapnel rain. Hitler told the world around he would tear our union down. But our union's gonna break them slavery chains. And our union's gonna break them slavery chains. I walked up on a mountain in the middle of the sky, could see every farm and every town. I could see all the people in this whole wide world. That's a union that'll tear the fascists down, down, down. That's a union that'll tear the fascists down.
The Arc de Trump. I am serious.
This is just a lot of what it would look like in either of the three, any of the three sides, which is right here. I don't know if you can see it. So that's Lady Liberty. Lady, did the other here, Lady Liberty? On top. But, so the sizes would be very good. And here's Lincoln. And this is sort of facing this way. And so, direct line. They did this, they didn't do that. So this would be, small, medium, and large. Medium and large. And, whichever one would look good. I happen to think the large looks like one.
3 3D model versions, a gold Lady Liberty on top, but he famously fumbled the word, calling it Tylenol, whatever it is. The Ark is privately funded, part of a broader set of renovations, a gilded Oval Office, a $250 million ballroom, a presidential walk of fame, and statues of George Washington and Abraham Lincoln are strategically placed on those grounds. It's an absurd and authoritarian move. Turning public spaces into personal monuments sends a message. This is all about me. This is not about the nation. Think about this pattern here. We have violent fantasies normalized in party chats. We have now swastikas in Congress caught on live streams, and we have life-saving policy ignored elsewhere. We have military leaders defending the Constitution, and we have absolute chaos in the House refusing to seat Adelita in Arizona, and we have a president transforming the Capitol into his little Trumpy showcase. The GOP is off its rocker.
We haven't even started yet. Last month, I signed an executive order to provide training for a quick reaction force that can help quell civil disturbances. And this is going to be a big thing for the people in this room because it's the enemy from within. And we have to handle it before it gets out of control. It won't get out of control. Once you're involved at all, they all joke. They say, oh, this is not good.
Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney shut down a Fox News host's nonsense defense of Donald Trump. Yesterday, Liz Cheney appeared on Bret Baier's show on Fox News. Liz Cheney is, of course, the former Republican Congresswoman who spoke out against Trump's efforts to overthrow our democratic process to install himself as the president. And because of that, Republican voters quickly removed her from her position of power because that is the modern Republican Party. A super conservative individual who voted with Trump almost every opportunity that she had dares to say, maybe we shouldn't shred our Constitution in favor of Trump and should allow for the peaceful transfer of power. And her career is over, at least in the GOP, pretty instantly. Crazy stuff. Well, she released a book where she talks about her experience after the 2020 election, watching Republicans go along with Trump's lies about the election, watching so many of them root on or even participate in Trump's attempts to unconstitutionally stay in power, and so many different things. And while discussing her book with Bret Baier, Baier tries to pose a counter argument to Liz Cheney, who's warning about Trump's dictatorial ambitions for a second term. And Baier essentially says, well, aren't Trump and Biden like sort of the same? I mean, Biden signed some executive orders and tried to readjust policies to get around Supreme Court rulings. And Liz Cheney correctly shuts it down.
Specifically, and I understand what you're saying about the former president, what you feel about what would happen, but you haven't been vocal. Haven't been vocal about President Biden when, like, executive orders to cancel student loan, ban evictions, mandate COVID vaccines. Well, here's a list.
I think it's a very different thing.
After the SCOTUS
Are
ruling,
you going to let me answer the question?
Yeah, I am. Just let me list them. After the SCOTUS ruled against it, he still used regulatory means to write off, the student debt, wall off 1.5 million acres of land for fossil fuel. What this basically is saying is that there are things that have been done outside of the rule of federal courts that you haven't weighed in on.
Well, first of all, I don't think it's true that I haven't weighed in on those. And I think a lot of those, if you look at the kinds of things that he's done with respect, for example, to energy policy, with respect to setting aside lands across the West, I've been very vocal that I think those policies are wrong. It's very different from a president. And look, you wrote a book about George Washington. The last chapter of your book is called The Gift of a Peaceful Transition of Power. That is what we're talking about.
Yeah, but this is not about me.
That's right, but that's a very important concept. Let me finish my answer, because every single president, Republican and Democrat, since George Washington, has ensured the peaceful transition of power. Donald Trump tried to seize power. So we can disagree with Biden policies, but the fact that he tried to seize power, the fact that he ignored the rulings of 61 courts.
I have a major PSA right now. Can we please stop sane-washing what Donald Trump does? Like, I get it. It is crazy that he posted an AI-generated image or video of him dropping feces on American citizens. But imagine if President Biden did that, or Obama, or Bush, or even Reagan. The media would have a field day with it. But because it's Trump, people say, oh, it's just Trump being Trump. That's reminiscent of saying, oh, it's just boys being boys. And then when Donald Trump does one thing that seemingly might be good, it's like he's hailed as this hero by the media. We have to report things honestly, truthfully. And yes, we live in a time where sometimes headlines read like we're reading The Onion. But as media, it's our responsibility to not sane-wash what the White House does, to hold it accountable just as much as we would any other president or leader. And then at the same time, not to overpraise the White House when one thing that's normal happens. I'll never do that. So if you want to support my work, subscribe to my Substack at the link in my bio. Spread the word, and let's continue sharing accurate, timely information and not sane-washing what's happening in America right now. Follow along for more.
You don't have to move completely, just keep moving forward. Keep moving forward. We the people. 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 Hello? Are you here?
We have breaking news right now. An artillery shell fired during the 250th Marine Corps celebrations that shut down Interstate 5 yesterday in California detonated prematurely over the interstate, damaging one of the vehicles in J.D. Vance's security detail. This is a bombshell story. I exclusively first reported that Interstate 5 would have to be shut down as Trump was literally shooting artillery from Navy ships into Camp Pendleton for this vanity parade, for this show of force. And people say, well, I was fear-mongering for that. Well, now we have confirmation that an artillery shell literally prematurely detonated over the Interstate 5. Now, thankfully, it was closed. Governor Newsom actually shut down the interstate temporarily because of these live fire drills. But J.D. Vance's security detail was still on the highway, and according to the Times, one of the vehicles was damaged. This wasn't fear-mongering. It was the truth. Spread the word because people need to know about this. Follow along for more. And if you want to support my work, subscribe to my Substack, link in bio.
Not Died fighting for freedom and recognition.
You know what, Trump supporters, this is what gets me, okay? It gets me the fact that you put so much emphasis into this one man that you think he's like the holy grail, the holy savior, and he's given all this money to other countries to not do a damn thing with it. But he ain't lining your pockets. Like, you voted for this man thinking that he was going to give you, like, what, a check on your doorstep every day? He's going to show up in the mailbox. Like, it's so pathetic. The Trump supporters are pathetic. That's exactly what you are. You thought what? Oh, he's going to change America. He's run this place into the ground. And I love the holy rollers, the Bible bumpers that sit here and go, he's putting Christians back into the school and Christianity. The man just said he wasn't going to heaven. Go watch the clip on YouTube. It's everywhere. He's on Air Force One. The same holy man that you thought was going to fix America says he ain't even going to get into heaven. But you still voted for him and backed him. All he done was make you people look like fools. That's exactly what he did. And I'm laughing all the way to next election till we get this bastard out of here.
If my ancestors as slaves can lead the bravest general strike in the history of this country, taking it to the ultra-rich and big corporations, we can do the same today. I'm calling on black people, white people, brown people, Asian people, immigrants, gay people from around this country to stand up against tyranny and to send a clear message to the ultra-rich and big corporations. We are going to make them pay their fair share in taxes to fund our schools, to fund jobs, to fund healthcare, to fund transportation. Democracy will live on because of this generation. Are you ready to take it to the courts and to the streets?
Basically are, right? When we're seeing just the depth of the attacks that are happening, trying to roll back all those gains that were won through past struggle, you know, that you were talking about. And they're not going to win. They're not going to do it. This crowd out here is showing why they're not going to do it.
It's our money. It's supposed to go to us. And so when we go on a general strike, we're basically saying we want our money to go back to us. We want our power to go back to us, not to these fascists.
We have a breaking news update about the shrapnel that hit one of J.D. Vance's vehicles in his security detail from an artillery shell prematurely detonating over Interstate 5 during this recent Marine Corps celebration. We now have images exclusively got by us at Midas Touch. These images, I want to show you them. This is one piece of shrapnel, what it looks like from the artillery shell. Another two pieces of the shrapnel from the artillery shell. This is where the ammunition was fired from. This is where it was essentially found. That's Interstate 5, folks. That is one of the busiest highways. Thankfully, it was closed down at the time, and thankfully no one was injured. But it was shot, attempted over Interstate 5, and shrapnel landed on a vehicle on Interstate 5. We broke this story exclusively. People laughed at us, thinking it wasn't true. Well, it was 100% true. And this is very serious. Spread the word so more people know. Full updates, as always, on my Substack, so support my work by subscribing today at the link in my bio, and follow along to stay up to date on all the news you need to know about.
The Supreme Court appears on the verge of further undercutting voting rights. It's a move that could have huge implications on the upcoming midterm elections for youth. The dispute stems from Louisiana, where a federal judge ordered lawmakers to draw a second majority black congressional district after ruling their original map, with just 1 out of 6 districts being held by Democrats, unlawfully diluted black voting power. Now, a group of white voters is challenging that decision, arguing it goes too far. It's a position the court's conservatives are very, very likely to support. In plain English, America's main law that bans racial gerrymandering, Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, could be gone. Listen to what Justice Brett Kavanaugh had to say during arguments for the case.
This court's cases, in a variety of contexts, have said that race-based remedies are permissible for a period of time, sometimes for a long period of time, decades in some cases, but that they should not be indefinite and should have an endpoint.
Now, here's what Janae Nelson, representing the civil rights group that challenged the original map, said during oral arguments.
My opponents here would like to make this a partisan issue because they believe the case law will enable their case to prevail, but it does not. This is about race. Section 2 and the Voting Rights Act is laser focused on eliminating racial discrimination from our electoral process, regardless of party. And if we look at many of the Black Congress people who were elected, they came out of Section 2 opportunity districts. They don't have to be majority-minority districts. Many of them are crossover districts. And so if we remove Section 2, we also recognize that there will likely be a resurgence of discrimination because Section 2 plays a deterrent effect.
If that portion of the law is gutted, it would have lasting effects on the country. Voting rights advocates warn that if the court weakens Section 2, states could redraw or even erase as many as 19 majority Black districts across the country, dramatically reducing Black political representation. A decision isn't expected until next summer, but depending on how the court rules, Louisiana could either keep its 2 majority Black districts or lose one entirely. And Republican state legislatures are watching, with North Carolina and Indiana already considering new congressional maps at President Trump's request.
This is Master Obi-Wan Kenobi. I regret to report that both our Jedi Order and the Republic have fallen. With the dark shadow of the Empire rising to take their place. This message is a warning and a reminder for any surviving Jedi. Trust in the Force. Do not return to the temple. That time has passed. And our future is uncertain. We will each be challenged. Our trust, our faith, our friendships. But we must persevere. And in time, a new hope will emerge.
The people singing the song of angry men. It is the music of our people who will not be slaves again. When the beating of your heart echoes the beating of the drums, there is a life about to start when tomorrow comes. Will you join in our crusade? Who will be strong and stand with me? Beyond the barricade, is there a world you long?
Right, but did President Putin try to dissuade you from selling Tomahawk missiles?
Well, of course. What do you think he's going to say? Please sell Tomahawks?
No, but he didn't.
Is he going to say, please sell those Tomahawks? I really appreciate it. I did actually say, would you mind if I gave a couple of thousand Tomahawks to your opposition? I did say that to him. I said it just that way. He didn't like the idea. He really didn't like the idea. No, I said it that way. You have to be a little bit lighthearted sometimes, but no, he doesn't want Tomahawk is a vicious weapon. It's a vicious offensive incredibly destructive weapon. Nobody wants tomahawks shot at them.
Typically ask you not to provide tomahawks?
So, wouldn't anybody? I mean, it's been in the news. Who wouldn't do that? CNN. Who wouldn't do that? You know.
Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Florida, Georgia, Hawaii, Idaho, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, Mississippi, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, Nevada, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, North Carolina, North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Vermont, Virginia, Washington, West Virginia, Wisconsin, Wyoming.
Well, this is a massive story just developing. The president of Colombia, Gustavo Petro, is accusing United States officials of murder. He says that in one of these military boat strikes by the United States in the Caribbean, the U.S. killed an innocent fisherman. So you can see this post from Petro here. He says U.S. government officials have committed a murder and violated our sovereignty in territorial waters. Fisherman Alejandro Carranza had no ties to the drug trade and his daily activity was fishing. The Colombian boat was adrift and had its distress signal up due to an engine failure. We await explanations from the U.S. government. And instead of explanations from the U.S. government, he got attacked by Donald Trump. You may have seen this message from Trump earlier today, where he said President Gustavo Petro of Colombia, he spelled it wrong, is an illegal drug leader, strongly encouraging the massive production of drugs in big and small fields all over Colombia. Blah, 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 blah. He then said, as of today, payments or any other form of payment or subsidies will no longer be made to Colombia. And in that post, Donald Trump further threatened Colombia, saying that the United States may have to take more action against the country. Why? Simply because Gustavo Petro called out Donald Trump. You can see that Petro reposted this tweet right here that says Trump is a maniac while waging war in Venezuela. He now threatens to attack Colombia too, although he can't spell it correctly. Trump falsely claims Colombian President Petro is a drug leader. That is a total lie. Now he's threatening sanctions and attacks. Imperial psycho. Meanwhile, Petro wrote the following: the boat attack September 16th was Colombian, had an engine on top as a sign of damage, and was turned off. Presumably, it was in Colombian waters. Who was there was a lifelong fisherman, Alejandro Carranza, who has not returned to his home. Alert to the Attorney General of the nation. I request you act immediately, grant immediate protection to the victim families, and associate them, if they wish, with the victims of Trinidad and Tobago to initiate legal actions in the world and in the justice system of the United States. Meanwhile, Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump continue to say that everybody they are killing in these attacks are members of ELN, a designated terrorist organization. But the Colombian president says the fisherman's boat from Santa Marta was not from the ELN. It belonged to a humble family, lovers of the sea, from which they drew their food. What do you say to that family? Explain to me why you helped assassinate a humble fisherman from Santa Marta. And Petro all day has reposted tweets like this, which called Donald Trump a complete liar, saying he has a complete disregard for facts and truth, and saying that the United States is engaged in imperial aggression against their country. And Petro makes clear that he loves the United States. His issue is with Donald Trump. He also remarks that the United States must take responsibility for its role in the drug trade. And he calls the operations of the United States government illegal and criminal. And I want you all to remember that story about the 2 survivors on that other boat that Donald Trump struck. The survivors were repatriated to Colombia and Ecuador. Very unusual that Donald Trump would choose not to prosecute them in the court of law and have people actually hear the evidence against them. This is escalating quickly. Spread the word and follow along for more.
Some Republicans had called today Hate America rallies. The scene, at least on these streets here in Los Angeles, has been incredibly peaceful. Huge crowds gathering not just here, but in other major cities from the West Coast to the East Coast and the heart of the nation's capital, all gathering against Donald Trump's administration. An estimated 7 million people rallied across the country: Washington, D.C., Boston, Philadelphia, Chicago. Protesters railing against what they claim is an increasingly authoritarian government and a raft of issues and policies, from the government shutdown to the immigration crackdowns.
He says he's not a king, but he acts like a king. And so we got to get as many people out here as we can just to say we care about each other even if the government doesn't.
As a Venezuelan immigrant who's seen a democracy fall, Venezuela was the 4th largest economy in the world once, largest oil reserve in the world. We know this playbook. We've seen it again.
In Chicago, Hollywood star John Cusack was among the crowd.
Go to hell.
Is that the message from Chicago?
Yes. What's interesting is that he doesn't understand that all the labor rights around the world came from this town, this place.
But Team Trump was trolling with this AI-generated image shared online. Unlike protests in Los Angeles earlier this year, today, though, was peaceful. While the mood here on the streets has been markedly different to that of a few months ago, there is still a concern here about the Donald Trump administration, about what President Trump might do in the 3 and a bit years he has left remaining in his administration. And these protesters who've gathered here in huge numbers today have vowed they won't be silenced and they will return.
I know you have seen this video of a pastor, Presbyterian pastor, Reverend David Black, being shot in the head last month by Trump's immigration agents, shot with a pepper ball while he prayed outside an ICE facility in Chicago. Reverend Black joined a lawsuit last week to defend the First Amendment rights of protesters and journalists and Chicago residents. On Friday, the judge in that case ordered that federal agents in Chicago are now prohibited from, quote, using riot control weapons on members of the press, protesters, or religious practitioners who are not posing an immediate threat to the safety of a law enforcement officer or others. Joining us now is the Reverend David Black. He's the pastor of the First Presbyterian Church of Chicago. Reverend, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Rachel.
A lot of people have had strong feelings seeing that video of you being hurt. I have to ask, how are you?
Thank you for asking. I'm recovering, but if I may say so, the story here is not about how I'm doing. The story here is if this is what the agents of the Trump administration are doing to pastors, to journalists, to peaceful protesters in broad daylight, it makes me shudder to imagine what they might be doing to our neighbors who are captive behind closed doors. And I hope that the consciences of all those who are concerned about me, and I have been grateful for the outpouring of support I have received from people around this country, but I hope that their consciences will be turned to those who are vulnerable and invisible in this moment, who are seeking that solidarity and support that has been so lovingly offered to me.
Your congregation is among the many faith organizations in Chicago that have responded both with leadership but also your membership in terms of turning out. What do you think the presence of faith leaders and faith communities in the protests has done to affect the overall presence of these federal agents and the overall response in Chicago?
This is a moment when people are profoundly disenchanted and profoundly overcome by despair and a feeling of powerlessness. But in our faith traditions, what we bear witness to, what I bear witness to every time that I read the Bible, is that humankind has been here before and that there is a way through. And I feel profoundly hopeful about how the ligaments of the body of Christ, of the people of this land, are coming together to protect one another, to support one another in solidarity and mutual love. And faith leaders showing up at these protests to minister. I came not as an organizer or even necessarily as a protester, but as a pastor. We're there to offer the witness of our faith. The Christian faith, Protestant faith, Catholic, Jewish, Muslim faiths, to offer a sense of hopefulness that justice is already in the waters, and we will see a new creation and a new day.
in Portland, Oregon, where Americans are turning out to protest Donald Trump, and it is inspiring to see that even Marjorie Taylor Greene is here standing with us. Look at her in her robe.
So we have a message today for Donald Trump. We are not afraid of you.
No, no, no.
You are a lawless, wannabe dictator. You have committed high crimes against the state. We will hold you accountable. You must be impeached and removed from public office. Thank you.
So after Trump and JD Vance attacked me on social media over the past 24 hours, I got a lot of messages from you folks at home asking me, am I okay? Am I anxious? Am I nervous? Am I safe? And let me just tell you, I've never been better. Not because Donald Trump attacked me, but because Trump just accidentally proved our point, and he doesn't even know it. It just flew right over his head. On No King's Day, millions of Americans, including myself, got out there and protested against Trump. Our main point is that he's an authoritarian, he's not a serious person, he doesn't care about this country, he only cares about himself. And by him posting that childish AI video where he's attacking protesters, myself included, he just proved everything I've been saying. And then JD Vance joining in on the attack is even more pathetic. Like, let me just put this into perspective. They are more interested in social media beef with me, a 23-year-old, than they are in actually leading the country. And that's something that we've been saying for years now. So they just proved what I've been saying, what you've been saying for years. And look, I'm not interested in Donald Trump's petty attacks. I'm interested in beating MAGA in elections and taking our country and our democracy back. And I think for your average American, our argument just got a lot stronger over the past 24 hours.
President Trump announced he wanted to send troops into the streets of Chicago. The pushback there has been creative and multifaceted, and it keeps evolving. They're trying everything. Governor J.B. Pritzker told us last week here on this show about a letter he had just sent to the National Governors Association, saying the National Governors Association should stand with Illinois in opposing troop deployments in U.S. cities. Governor Pritzker didn't get a statement like that from the Governors Association, but he did get the chair of the group, the Republican governor of Oklahoma, to do a big interview with the New York Times saying, yes, he at least is against this. Governor Kevin Stitt of Oklahoma told the Times he opposes Trump's National Guard deployment in Chicago. He said Oklahomans would lose their minds if Pritzker in Illinois sent troops down to Oklahoma during the Biden administration. That same day, the Republican governor of Vermont also came out against the deployment of troops in Chicago. Vermont Governor Phil Scott called it unconstitutional. He said if Trump made good on his threats to jail Governor Pritzker, he, as the Republican governor of Vermont, would be, quote, on the forefront of pushing back against that. Meanwhile, the people of Chicago have continued to show up to make it clear they don't want troops deployed to Chicago, and they are opposed to what the Trump administration is doing in their city. Chicagoans have marched in big protests in downtown Chicago, including a couple of huge ones just in the last few days. They've also adopted the cheerfully absurd tactics that we've been seeing in Portland, Oregon, showing up in big inflatable cartoon costumes. We're seeing scrappy neighborhood responses in places like Albany Park, where neighbors sounded the alarm as federal agents made stops in that neighborhood until eventually the agents left. At a church in the Rogers Park neighborhood, we saw neighbors forming a human chain around the church to protect the church's parishioners as Trump's immigration agents lurked outside the church while Mass was ending. Outside a Chicago ICE facility, there was yet another prayer protest against what Trump's agents are doing in Chicago. Over 1,000 people joined a delegation of Catholic priests and nuns this weekend as they held a Eucharistic procession to that ICE facility. That's not just a protest, that's a Catholic religious rite. Those priests and nuns marched to that ICE facility with the Eucharist in the hopes of delivering Holy Communion to Catholic prisoners there. ICE refused to let them do it. Last week on the show, we played this video of a Presbyterian minister, the Reverend David Black, being pepper sprayed in the face and then shot in the head with a pepper ball as he prayed and called on ICE agents to repent. The bravery of Reverend David Black in that moment has had a lot of attention across the country in the last few days. That video, though, also became part of a new lawsuit against federal agents in Chicago. So far, the case involving Reverend Black has already resulted in a judge putting strict new limits on Trump's federal agents, using weapons like pepper balls and tear gas against protesters and journalists. Pushback of every kind, one way or another, always works.
Look at this. Millions of people across the country marching as we speak against the policies of President Trump. This is Boston. Look at that. We'll continue to follow these rallies throughout the day here on MSNBC. Wow. All right, coming up.
We're here in Fort Worth. This is how you resist. This is the energy. Thousands upon thousands of people right here, Congressional District 25, the southeast part of Fort Worth. This is where the movement rises.
We have some news right now. Overnight, while you were asleep, Donald Trump posted a bizarre video of himself in a king crown dropping feces from a fighter jet on No King's Day protesters in New York City, including none other than influencer Harry Sisson. The video on his Truth Social is literally him in a fighter jet in a king's crown dropping feces on American cities and American protesters. Sometimes I feel like I'm reporting for The Onion, but no, this is real and this did happen. And it's actually already drawn condemnation from a number of senators, members of Congress, with Brian Schatz asking from Hawaii, why is the president of the United States literally pretending to drop feces on Americans exercising their First Amendment rights? Now just take a minute and imagine if President Biden posted this on his Twitter, or if President Obama did. The outrage from the right would be never ending. And yet some in the media will just say, oh, this is Trump being Trump. It's the president of the United States, folks. You can't sane wash these things. Spread the word, follow along for more, and if you want to support my work, I'll never sane wash things, subscribe to my Substack, link in bio.
We are here today because it is this city, it is this state that cannot, will not, and will never bend a knee to any regime that tells us that we do not belong. We have seen a young black man in Chicago thrown to the ground, put in handcuffs, while people called out, but he's a citizen. We have seen a woman outside of a school get thrown down and put in handcuffs as she said, they don't have a warrant. They won't show me a warrant. They had to release her later. We are America, and we won't let you take her.
That's not loud enough. Today we say no kings. In Washington, D.C., there is a total breakdown of our democracy. Speaker Johnson has become a wholly owned subsidiary of Donald Trump. He has shut down the House of Representatives, where we do the work for the people. Tyranny and liberty cannot live in the same house. So today we say no kings.
So folks, JD Vance is now attacking me on social media along with Donald Trump. They've joined forces against me. As you folks know by now, Donald Trump attacked me on Truth Social yesterday, posting this AI video of him in a fighter jet dropping feces on me and millions of other Americans who were out there protesting against him. And of course, the nation is just baffled by what we all collectively watched. So I asked on Twitter, can a reporter please ask Trump why he posted this AI video of him dropping feces on me from a fighter jet? That would be great, thanks. And so I guess JD Vance saw that and he responded by saying, I'll ask him for you, Harry. The vice president and the president are more interested in social media beef than they are leading the country. Two main things here. Number one, I think this proves beyond a reasonable doubt that both Donald Trump and JD Vance are mentally deranged. And it's incredibly concerning that these are the people who have access to the nuclear codes. And then number two, I think this is so pathetic. I mean, obviously myself, a 23-year-old, and my peers have really gotten under their skin and they just couldn't hold it in anymore. They had to attack us on social media. But genuinely, the president, the VP, going after private citizens because they disagree with them is pathetic. Unfortunately for Donald Trump and JD Vance, this will not stop me. This will not silence me. It won't stop you either. And I think right now we are more empowered than ever to go after this administration. I intend to continue to do so.
Massive No Kings protest that swept across all 50 states and Washington, D.C. Yesterday, organizers say that nearly 7 million people attended events to protest what they called President Trump's authoritarian power grabs. To put that in perspective, that's 2 million more people than the first No Kings protest back in June. People of all ages and backgrounds came out sporting costumes, waving homemade protest signs. Some of the biggest crowds were seen in Chicago, New York, LA, DC, and Boston. But crowds also turned out into smaller cities and towns. Protesters even showed up in Republican-led states that voted for Trump in 2024. But no matter where they were from, they all had one unifying message: America is no place for kings.
They're not going to intimidate us with tyrant talk. We are out here to stand up for this democracy.
Do not cower to the fascism and the threats that are coming from D.C. That's what they want us to do, and they will only be successful in that if we remain silent.
We are standing up for those who are scared to come out. We're standing for those who believe in democracy. And it's beautiful to see all these people here. It gives me hope. It gives me a lot of hope, honestly. And that's what we all believe in. We believe in hope. We believe in getting back to America's beautiful self.
Most times it comes quietly, wrapped in the language of law and order, with fingers pointed at someone who doesn't look like you, promising safety while demanding that we sacrifice our neighbors. Today, we're here to say with one voice that there is an existential threat to our constitutional republic. This is not a political choice. This is a moral imperative.
We have some news right now. We're in a government shutdown, and Vice President J.D. Vance is now in a Twitter back and forth with Harry Sisson over an AI video that showed Donald Trump as a king dropping feces on American citizens. That's not an Onion headline. That's real life, and that's what we're living through. So let's not sane wash what's happening right now. Donald Trump posted that video on his Truth Social. Harry Sisson, who had the feces dropped on him in the video, responded saying, a reporter should ask why the President of the United States is posting videos of people dropping feces on me. J.D. Vance on Twitter just responded, I'll ask him for you, Harry. Harry now responded saying, include me in the Signal chat, I'll ask him myself, referring to the Signal chat where they had discussed about the Yemeni Houthis. Remember that? We're in a government shutdown, day 19, today, and J.D. Vance is beefing with an influencer on Twitter instead of focusing on keeping the government open. Donald Trump is posting videos of him dropping feces on American citizens instead of solving peace. If Joe Biden and Kamala Harris did this, the media would not stop talking about this. Would not stop. Spread the word. We cannot sane wash this. Follow along for more.
Tables and chairs warmed by all of the dust. This is a place where I don't feel alone. This is a place where I feel at home.
Donald Trump attacked me on social media last night. That's right. He posted this really gross AI video where I'm included, and you just have to see for yourself to believe it's real. Take a look. Yeah, a real post by the President of the United States. As soon as I saw that video, I responded to it by saying, that plane wouldn't have made it off the ground with your fat ass in the pilot's seat, and I stand by that. I mean, look, if this doesn't prove to you that Donald Trump is a complete and total loser, I don't know what will. He's posting AI videos of himself in a crown, dropping feces on the American people in the middle of the night. What I just described to you is somebody who is mentally unwell. It's just what it is. 7 million Americans, including myself, just got out there and protested against Donald Trump, and his administration's response is a shitty AI video. Yeah, I think the Democrats are doing pretty good. There's so much more I can say about this. I made a long-form video on my YouTube and my Spotify show, link in bio if you want to hear more from me about this. But like, we are so screwed as a country with this guy at the helm. So screwed.
You look at and hear from all the folks that were out on the streets yesterday, young and old, white and black, from across the political spectrum, small towns and big cities. What do you think that tells you about the difference that we have now and kind of the resistance that's growing and where we started in January?
It tells me that I'm very happy to see that, because we need much more of it going forward. Because that's the only thing that the politicians are going to recognize. They either face the wrath of Trump or the wrath of the people. And they have to be more afraid of the wrath of the people and realize this is not good. I better strap on my balls and do something about it.
Do you think they got that message, that's going to resonate with them as the week comes into?
It has to, we can't let up. Cannot let up on him, because he is not going to leave the White House. He does not want to leave the White House. He will not leave the White House. Anybody thinks he'll do this, he'll do that, is just deluding themselves. The Republicans, most of all, because they know, but they're going along with it. It's a classic bully situation. We see it, and there's no other to face a bully. You have to face him and fight it out and back him off and back him down. That's the only way this is going to work.
In 1776, with extraordinary courage, the founders of our country announced to the world that they would no longer be ruled by the King of England. A king who had absolute power over their lives. They demanded freedom. And to bring that about, they fought a bloody war against the British Empire. And in 1789, after winning that war, they did something extraordinary. They established the first democratic form of government in modern history. They said loudly and boldly to the entire world, no more kings. In America, they said, we the people will rule. And today,
No more kings! No more kings! No more kings! No more kings!
and today in the year 2025, in this dangerous moment in American history, our message is exactly the same. No, President Trump, we don't want you or any other king to rule us. Well, let us be clear. This moment is not just about one man's greed, one man's corruption, or one man's contempt for the Constitution. This is about a handful of the wealthiest people on earth who, in their insatiable greed, have hijacked our economy and our political system in order to enrich themselves at the expense of working families throughout this country.
If you don't have any art, you're pretty much lost.
Kan noen være så snill å slå av internett?